Imagine a once bustling printing plant now standing empty, about to be reborn as a beacon of innovation. That's exactly what's happening in Warsaw, Indiana, where Slate Auto is transforming the former RR Donnelley Sons LSC communications facility into a cutting-edge electric vehicle EV manufacturing hub. But here's where it gets controversial. This isn't just a factory upgrade. It's a bold gamble on the future of American manufacturing. And this is the part most people miss. The project hinges not just on technology, but on the very people who once worked these halls decades ago. Let's dive into the story of how a community is rewriting its legacy and what it means for the EV revolution. On August 28th, Slate Auto hosted a sneak peek for local officials, journalists, and community members, offering a glimpse of its plans to convert the historic plant at 2801 West, Old Road 30 into a production site for customizable electric trucks and SUVs. At the center of the event was CEO Chris Barman, who painted a vision of a 2026 launch date with over 2,000 jobs and an estimated $39 billion in state revenue over 2 decades. But the real heart of the story lies in the people. Don Stoneburner, a former RR Donnelley employee since 1975, is now a senior electrical engineer at Slate. His journey from print press to EV engineering symbolizes the shift many workers hope to embrace. "I'll hold off my retirement for a few more years," he joked, echoing the sentiment of others who've returned to the facility after decades away. The event wasn't just a showcase, it was a celebration of continuity. Warsaw Mayor Jeff Gross shared a touching moment with his father, Frank Gross, an 83-year-old retired RR Donnelley worker. Frank's career began in 1967, and his son credited his father's dedication to the community as the reason he could now champion Slate's arrival. "Would I be here today without his example?" Gross asked, underscoring the generational ties to the site. Meanwhile, Barman emphasized Slate's simplification of manufacturing, eliminating paint shops, stamping lines, and trim options to focus on reliability. Critics might argue this approach sacrifices customization for efficiency, but Barman insists it's a necessity. "We've removed everything that isn't a car." The political buzz was palpable. U.S. Rep. Rudy Yakum hailed the project as a triumph for his big something beautiful bill, which incentivizes American manufacturing through tax breaks. "This proves that when we cut red tape, companies build right here," he declared. Yet not everyone agrees. Some question whether such policies truly level the playing field against global competitors. State Rep. Craig Snow called the project an economic development win, citing job creation and ancillary opportunities for housing and education. But what happens when the initial hype fades? Will the 2,100 jobs promised by Slate sustain the community long term? Or is this a fleeting boom? Kosciuszko County leaders were equally bullish. Commissioner Kerry Groninger called it a phenomenal day, while Chamber President Rob Parker dubbed Slate a game-changer. Yet beneath the optimism lies a quieter truth. The building had just been vacated, and Slate's arrival is a race against time to revive a dormant asset. Peggy Friday of the local economic development group admitted the project was a blessing, but even she acknowledged the challenges of breathing life into a once idle campus. As the tours concluded, one question lingered. Can a company like Slate truly disrupt the auto industry without compromising the very communities it aims to uplift? Or is this just another chapter in the long, complex story of American manufacturing? We'd love to hear your take. Do you believe this approach will revolutionize the industry? Or does it risk overlooking traditional strengths? Share your thoughts below, because the future of factories like these might depend on the answers.